At the end of 2017, the Project M competitive community was still going strong, and at the top of the totem pole was this man right here.
Whoa! Spot dodging the down smash. That's not something you see a lot.
That Donkey Kong was controlled by 2016's best in the world, ThunderzReign. When 2017 came to a close, NorCal native Thunders was recognized as the best player in the world for the second year in a row by Project M's PM Rank 2017. While Thunders was able to reclaim the number 1 spot, all of the players in PM Rank's top 4 were considered the best of the best, dominating their respective regions. At number 2 was Malachi from New York, a player known for his ability as a dual main, using Peach and Sheik at the highest level. At number 3 was Sosa, the tyrant of SoCal and longtime best Wario player in the world. And at number 4 was Switch, a Wolf player from New Jersey that broke into the spotlight with his results in 2017. Even though Thunder sat at the top of the list, even PM Rank admitted that these 4 players were incredibly close in skill. And when giving each player a skill score from 1 to 10, with 10 being the highest, Thunders only edged out Malachi by a difference of 0.01. The 2018 season kicked off with a tournament called Poi Poundas in Hawaii. With the tournament occurring in the far west United States, it only made sense that the 2 West Coast rivals would attend, with Thunders as the clear favorite. However, Thunders had no intention of playing Donkey Kong, and instead chose to play his secondary characters for fun. And as the tournament moved on, it became clear that Thunders would not be winning this tournament. This paved the way for Sosa and his Wario to win the first big tournament of the year, establishing himself as the king of the West Coast.
This is Fuck's tournament? Oh, yep. Yep. GG. Sosa wins PM Poi Poundas.
While Sosa's win was impressive, the community reaction to this tournament focused on Thunders' unforeseen losses to other players from the West Coast. This backlash was the main driver behind Thunders announcing his effective retirement from participating in large tournaments, citing his desire to play the game for fun and not focus on the pressure of playing in bracket. With Thunders out of the picture, this made Sosa the dominant force on the West Coast. But what about his top player counterparts on the East Coast? Well, just 1 week after Poi Poundas was an East Coast major called We Tech Those 3. With both Switch and Malachi in attendance, it seemed destined that they would meet in grand finals. With Switch coming from the winner's side, he only needed 1 set to win the tournament, and with the East Coast title on the line, Switch was able to take home the gold.
That's it. Switch takes. We Tech Those 3.
With Switch winning the tournament and Malachi coming in second, these 2 established that they would be the players to beat from the East Coast. And with Thunders no longer traveling to compete, Sosa would join Switch and Malachi to make up the trio atop the Project M competitive community, and they would spend most of 2018 wrestling for dominance. While Switch and Malachi played each other fairly frequently as they were both from the East Coast, it was rare for either of these players to get a chance to fight their cross-country rival Sosa. The first tournament of the year where Sosa would get to play against either of these East Coast Titans was Don't Sleep 2, a Texas tournament where both Sosa and Malachi attended. As expected, both players made it to grand finals, with Sosa coming from the losers bracket. Even with the difficulty of winning 2 sets looming over him, Sosa managed to pull off the bracket reset 3-0 and then clutch out the tournament victory in a tense Game 5 final.
That's no jump. And he's going to have to go ahead and be Zelda. Gets there. Gets the clap.
He did.
That's it. Sosa taking
That'll
the
be
tournament.
It. Sosa takes the tournament.
With Sosa able to win the tournament over Malachi, it could be argued that he only needed to beat Switch in order to establish himself as the best player in the world. Just 3 weeks later, Sosa would get his chance at Resting Stitch Face in New Jersey. With Malachi and Switch in attendance, a tournament win for Sosa would have been huge, but he was sent to the losers bracket early and did not make it to winners finals. Meanwhile, Malachi was able to get his revenge on Switch from We Tech Those, and Malachi would eventually make it to the winner's side of grand finals. With Sosa and Switch both in losers, these 2 would finally get their first chance to play each other in losers semis, with Sosa being the ultimate victor. With Switch out of the tournament, Sosa would eventually make it to grand finals to face off against Malachi again. But this time, Malachi wouldn't let Sosa reset the bracket. In fact, Malachi was looking so dominant, Sosa was forced to switch to Pit in a last-ditch effort to steal the tournament. But Malachi held fast, and in a 3-1 finish, Malachi won the grand finals run back against Sosa.
Ooh.
It's so hard. All right. And Resting Stitch Face comes to a close.
With Resting Stitch Face completed, Malachi became the first player to win a tournament where all 3 of these players were in attendance. What the trio may not have known at the time was that this was the first of only 2 tournaments all year where all 3 would enter. And the second of these tournaments took place just 1 week later. The New York Major, the Flex Zone 3. The East Coast community was hoping that the hometown heroes Switch and Malachi could defend against the Sosa invasion for the 2nd week in a row. But both Malachi and Switch ended up losing to Mewtwo main and Texas native Fuzz, and both players were eventually eliminated before Grand Finals. This gave Sosa a much easier road to Grand Finals, and he eventually took the whole tournament, only dropping 3 games in the entire bracket.
Early damage, 50 damage just like that off of 1 grab, and the waft is up.
Yes.
And Sosa
yes,
is your Flex Zone 3 champion.
As I mentioned earlier, this was the last tournament all year where all 3 of these players would be in attendance, and unfortunately, none of them ran into each other in bracket. Thankfully, there would be one more tournament before the summer where Sosa and Switch would meet. Push More Buttons 2018 in Minnesota. After Switch was able to get his revenge over Fuzz for his defeat at the Flex Zone 3, Sosa and Switch met in Grand Finals of the tournament. But again, it would be Sosa who took the tournament over his East Coast adversary.
Because I know Switch was looking to figure out what that landing option.
No, that'll do it too. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Congratulations to Sosa, 2 times Push More Buttons champion.
Taking it over Switch, taking it over Fuzz.
Sosa came off this win looking dominant in Project M. Of the 4 tournaments he entered where either Malachi or Switch also entered, Sosa was able to claim the crown in 3. And with the Summer of Smash about to kick off, the question lingered in everyone's minds: who was left to take down Sosa? The 2018 Summer of Smash kicked off with one of the tournament staples of the Project M community, Smash and Splash 4 in Wisconsin. This tournament was always known for bringing in a large number of entrants, and 2018 did not disappoint, with over 350 entrants for Project M. However, this event was also mired in controversy after the Project M Backroom, or PMBR, in conjunction with the tournament organizers, announced a new rule set and stage list to be debuted at the tournament. The PMBR stages tweaked the blast zones and behaviors of a few common tournament stages, and also introduced a flat version of Metal Cavern to round out the list of 10 stages. While a few regions did not end up adopting the new stages permanently, only one major for the rest of 2018 ran on a different rule set, and it was interesting to see how the stage metagame shifted with the introduction of new stages. Despite all these changes, there were still 2 players of the top 3 that attended Smash and Splash 4, and they were the boys from the East Coast, Malachi and Switch. With both of them predicted to meet in Grand Finals, it would be Malachi who would be overthrown from his place of dominance, dropping 2 sets surprisingly early and finishing a meager 9th place. With Malachi out of the way, Switch would find himself in Grand Finals against Lunchables. Wait, Lunchables? That's right, for those of you who have followed the Project M scene for many years, you may recognize this name as the Texas native and tri-main of Toon Link, Roy, and Marth. And if you already know of Lunchables, you may also know that he had officially announced his retirement after 2016. But in 2018, Lunchables began to make his return to the competitive scene, beating Switch at No Fun Allowed 2 in February, and beating Sosa in Winners at Don't Sleep 2 in March. Smash and Splash was different though. This was Lunchables' chance to finally clutch a major tournament victory, something that had eluded him for so long in his prime in 2016. And this time, with 2 of the top 3 in attendance, Lunchables finally came out on top.
Gets the regrab.
Can he convert?
Doesn't quite hit the Monster Tipper hitbox. Down air. Lunchables is your Smash and Splash 4 Project M singles champion.
While this was an emotional victory for Lunchables, we didn't get to see him much for the rest of 2018. So Smash and Splash would live on as his big mark for the year. Switch, on the other hand, would carry his momentum from Smash and Splash into the next tournament, an East Coast major in Philly called Smashadelphia 2018. With both Switch and Malachi in attendance again, everyone expected the 2 of them to meet in Grand Finals, but just like at Smash and Splash, Malachi found some unexpected losses early, and he would finish the tournament at 4th place. This again allowed Switch the easy Grand Finals berth, And as if he was avenging his second place finish from Smash and Splash, Switch finally clinched his first major tournament victory since January.
Look at this pressure. Look at this. Oh my god, the bait on the roll. The bait again.
And he baits the Nair landing, and that's it. Switch is your Grand Finals champion and your champion of Smashadelphia 2018.
With this victory, Switch established himself as the king of the East Coast. While everyone understood that Malachi was a top threat, he had dropped so many sets in bracket that people no longer expected him to be the tournament powerhouse that he used to be. But the summer still wasn't over, and the East Coast had a couple more chances to prove themselves against the dominant threat from the West. And the next chance they'd get would be at the largest Project M tournament of all time, the Even Bigger Bout. The Big Balk Series had always been the quintessential West Coast major for the Project M scene. The organizers always worked incredibly hard to pull in as many entrants as possible, and so it was no surprise that the Even Bigger Balk, the third and final installment of the series, would pull in the most entrants a PM event had ever pulled in, with 427 singles entrants. With it being the final West Coast major, many people expected Sosa to step up and defend his home turf and claim the easy victory. The only major invader from the East was Malachi, as Switch was unable to attend. Unfortunately for Malachi, his string of early bracket losses continued, and he found himself placing the lowest he had placed at a major all year, falling at 33rd place. This seemed to give Sosa the easy route to Winners Finals, where an unexpected rival would make his return. That's right, 2017's best player ThunderzReign had decided to enter the Even Bigger Bout, his first major since Poi Poundas back in January. While he had still been entering locals in his home region of NorCal, Thunders shocked everyone by not skipping a beat in his return to form at the Even Bigger Bout. And even though he dropped a set to Sosa in Winners Finals, Thunders came back with a vengeance in Grands with a 3-2 reset and a 3-0 finish to become the Even Bigger Bout champion.
And he's having these panic rolls and these panic spot dodges.
That spike!
Holy crap!
Sosa is shook, dude. He's shook. Thunders is taking him for a ride. Oh my god! Is this it?
It's over. I'm not seeing it.
Over?
I'm not seeing it anymore, Jason. I'm not seeing it anymore.
Is it over? ThunderzReign is your Even Bigger Bout champion. 3-0.
While this victory felt like a big power shift at the highest level, Thunders after this tournament returned to his home region of NorCal and continued to avoid traveling. We never got to see matches like Malachi or Switch versus Thunders, just like we never got to see Malachi versus Lunchable. While these three were consistently at the top of their game, anomalies like Lunchables and Thunders made it so much more difficult to pinpoint who was the best of the best in Project M. At this point in the year, it felt like Sosa had been the most consistent across tournament placements and head-to-head results, and he would get one last chance to prove it at Low Tier City 6 in Texas. While this tournament had Malachi and Lunchables standing in Sosa's way, Lunchables had to drop out early due to personal reasons, leaving only Malachi to fight the West Coast King. Luckily for Malachi, Low Tier City turned out to be his comeback tournament, as for the first time since March, he managed to pull himself to the Winners Finals of a major event. However, Sosa was not ready to give up his throne so easily, and in 2 Game 5 sets, Sosa was able to defeat Malachi in Winners Finals and finally in Grand Finals.
I think one more grab and that should be it. Waft is fully charged.
Yeah, up throw to Waft.
Sosa's definitely looking for it.
Oh, he gets a grab. He died super hard out, actually.
Fantastic DI from Sosa.
He might be dead.
And that is
it.
Straight Sosa! Sosa is your Low Tier City 6 champion.
This tournament cemented Sosa's dominance for the year. In fact, Low Tier City 6 was basically the last big major of 2018. Sure, Thunders was able to win fair and balanced too without much competition, and Switch won most East Coast events, including Blacklisted 4 without much competition, but Low Tier City 6 was the last time any of these 5 would interact for the rest of the year, and Sosa was the one who came out on top. Even though he had some losses to some unexpected foes, Sosa's consistency at the top made him without a doubt the best Project M player in the world. At the end of 2017, I knew that the Project M community was set up for growth and a fantastic year of competition. At the end of 2018, I have a lot more questions than I have answers. Sure, the even bigger Balk drew the largest attendance for a Project M event ever, but with the announcement of no Balk event in 2019, who will carry on the tradition? The player base didn't react too enthusiastically to the new PMBR stages, but how will they react to gameplay changes and a new patch, which is called P+, by the way, and you should definitely check it out. With locals in several regions starting to shut their doors, will P+ be the jump that they need to restart? At the highest level, it looks like Thunders has decided to make a return to competitive PM by entering Poi Poundish 2, and we saw Lunchables and Switch at No Fun Allowed 3, but so far we haven't seen any major activity from Malachi or Sosa in 2019. Could all 5 eventually make their return in 2019? There are too many uncertainties and questions for me to know how PM will look in 2019, but I do know one thing for certain. I will keep playing PM. Even if I'm no longer entering tournaments, I'll keep playing until there's no one left to play with. Because to me, the community isn't about the game anymore. The people in the community are my friends, and I'll show up wherever they are so we can bond over this crazy obsession we've grown so close over. And I don't think I'm alone in that regard. Even as some of us move on to other games or other communities, and even as PM competitions appear to struggle to stay afloat, I don't think PM will ever really, truly die. Because PM players will always come out of the woodwork when you need them the most. Because PM players will stick around way after everyone else has left to remind you that they still care. Because today, it's no longer the game that makes the community, but the community that makes the game. This has been Reslived. I hope you enjoyed my review of Project M in 2018. I know it's 4 months late, but as Thunders might say, it's better late than never. I have plans for more Project M content, so go ahead and drop a like, subscribe if you can, and please share this video with others who may be interested in the Project M community. Until next time, thank you for watching.